What's up, my dudes? Thank you very much for tuning in. Hope you guys have a most excellent day today out there in internet land. So today I want to pose to you a question, and that is, Popufurs. Are they as bad as the stereotypes make them out to be, or are they all just kind of like misunderstood? And we got some major mistakes going on with the way we treat these dudes. And in case you're wondering what constitutes a popufur, I'm going to swing by Urban Dictionary to have a look at the official definition of popufur. And that is, well, there's two definitions. It is a popular furry, which is the basic, that's how they shorten that down to popufur. And the other one is a narcissistic dickhead who happens to be popular. Obviously, those are two very different ends of the scale. Obviously, one being a strict definition, a way to define someone, and the other one being effectively a slur or an insult used to degrade them. When I see people using the term popufur these days, it's always in a negative light, and it always seems to be applied to anyone over a certain level, generally about 20 to 30,000 subscribers or Twitter followers or whatever. They generally get labeled a popufur, and I've seen some really gnarly takes aimed towards them based solely on their follower count. And I'm wondering whether that's really fair on these people. Now obviously there will be some at that level who are narcissistic dickheads and do fit the stereotypical popufur down to a T. There are going to be some of them out there. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I've had run-ins myself with popufurs who have treated me like shit just because I'm some random nobody they barely know. So I'm not going to say there ain't nobody out there like that. But on the flip side, I'm wondering how many of these popular furries out there have gotten a bad rap through pure mistake and misunderstanding. They've done something that has been completely innocent, has been randomly, misconstrued as being the worst thing ever. And I really do think it's not helped by the fact that we do keep popular furries under a microscope almost. Now, if I was to go out and say something really gnarly to people, I'm not that well known. I've only got 1,600 subscribers here on YouTube. People don't know me. I've got barely 400 followers on Twitter. I could say something absolutely gnarly. Someone could put out a beware on me, and honestly, nobody will care because I'm relatively unknown compared to some of these dudes. Now, if someone like Odin Wolf or Ash Coyote put out a comment that was absolutely disgusting, some proper gnarly shit. I'm not saying they have, but if they did, you can guarantee at least 10 times the number of people would retweet it, would quote retweet it, would post bewares about them. And the amount of attention that would get would be astronomical because there are so many people watching them and studying them under a microscope. So, the slightest step out of line and popular furries do get put on blast. They do get massively cancelled. And as with everything, bad news travels fastest. And in the furry fandom, furries love drama. So of course this is going to be the stuff that gets out there the most. You see a furry doing some really nice shit. A lot of furries don't seem to care. They're all like, yeah, whatever. A prime example of this. You all may have heard of a dude in England called Xavier Fox. Now, Xavier Fox is a popular furry. He is known for driving a tank to a fur meet. And there's a few people who really, really dislike Xavier Fox because he is one of these suspiciously wealthy furries. And when they put them on blast, that shit gets retweeted and, quoted by others and gets real legs on furry Twitter. And everyone seems to know about that shit. But no one seems to know about the fact that he's donated thousands to furry charities. He has, really gone out of his way to help the fandom. But no one seems to care about that. That's not drama. That doesn't get everyone's attention. The fact that he's, slightly awkward around people, that seems to get attention. They call him creepy because of that. But no one seems to care about all the good shit he does because drama sells. So drama about popular furries obviously is going to sell further. And I do think that is one of the things that contributes to this bad stereotype of popular furries is the fact that drama sells more than, you know, good shit. People invest more in drama than they do in the guy helping someone. It's almost like the fandom doesn't care if you're a decent person, they just want to gossip about you. And for this I want to reference an incident that happened to my dude Beta Eta Delota when he was fursuiting at a convention. Now, as you know, fursuiting can get very exhausting very quickly, especially if you don't do it that often. You can find yourself overwhelmed pretty quickly and need to get out of suit. And that's completely understandable. Now, if you're out in the lobby of a convention or whatever, and you get to that state, you want to get to the fursuit lounge as quickly as possible. My man Beta, he was trying to get to the fursuit lounge in this incident because he was, you know, getting to the limit of what he could do in suit. And he was, you know, in a bit of a rush, and a furry stopped him because obviously they see their hero in person, they want to stop him. And he just innocent, he's like, look dude, sorry, I gotta get to the fursuit lounge, I'm really sorry, and carried on doing his thing. Now, for most fursuiters, that wouldn't be a major issue, and quite rightly so. You know, if a fursuiter is overheating, they need to go deal with that, and, you know, some person stopping them for a photo or whatever should be a secondary concern. And for most of us, if that happened to us while we're in suit, the person wouldn't think any less of it. But I think because it's Beta, because he is a well-known celebrity within the fandom, this person must have somehow assumed that they had a right to his time. I don't know what they were thinking, but apparently they went away and they took this incident of him just, you know, honestly trying to get to the fursuit lounge as him somehow then snubbing them and, you know, making a big fuss to the point where they hated his guts. You know, their opinion of him completely changed from being, you know, this great furry who they looked up to being this really gnarly dude who they didn't like, who had snubbed them, who was a, you know, a stereotypical popufur who didn't care about the little guys, so to speak. Now, I'm sure we can all agree that Beta did nothing wrong in this incident. He had genuine reasons, but this person has gone away from that incident hating Beta and, you know, viewing him as a stereotypical popufur with all the gnarliness that goes along with that stereotype, which I think is massively unfair. And I wonder how often that then happens, you know, in this fandom. How easily that can spiral into a whole bunch of people hating on a fur based on purely innocent, you know, incident. But obviously that incident's going to go through the furry rumor mill, and when it comes out the other end, it's going to be 10 times worse. You know, people will be saying Beta insulted the guy or whatever, you know, was utterly rude and grim. And, you know, this is one of the things that I think is not helping the popufur stereotype, is that, you know, like I said earlier, drama sells, but drama gets exaggerated. So what goes in one end as a simple misunderstanding comes out the other end as something totally gnarly. And I do think, you know, rumor mill exaggerations are one of the leading causes of, you know, this popufur stereotype. Now, obviously, there are going to be genuinely gnarly popufurs out there. I'm not going to say there ain't. But from my experience, having been able to rub shoulders to some of these dudes in like the YouTube or Telegram chat and stuff, for every one gnarly fur out there, there's at least 9 who are really decent dudes. They've just got a bit of a following now, but they're still the same person they were before that. A good example of this, now I'm going to go from personal experience now. Now, a lot of people seem to have an opinion on Odin Wolf that, you know, based on his YouTube channel and what they see on social media of him, that, you know, some people have got a negative opinion on him. They seem to think that he's not the greatest dude out there. But from my personal experience in the YouTube Telegram chat, he is an absolute dear. He is so lovely. It's like, I've had issues with my YouTube where I've been like, you know, worrying about how to do stuff, or, you know, whether a thumbnail's any good. And Odin Wolf has just flown right in with no expectations of any comeback and be like, look dude, this is how you do it, or, you know, this is the best one, or this is some most excellent advice for you. People don't see that because he's all behind closed doors. He's not getting anything out of that himself clout wise. It's not like, you know, my 1% of his subscriber count is all going to go rushing over to his channel and suddenly subscribe. He's going to have a massive boost. I mean, I'm tiny. So, you know, it's not like he's trying to do it to get more, you know, clout or anything. He's not a clout chaser. Yeah, he literally did it out of the generosity of his own heart, just to help me out. I think they kind of get tarred with a brush based on that small minority of gnarly dudes. But I think one of the things that doesn't help with that, view of popular furries is the stereotype itself. It's kind of a self-reinforcing, perpetual motion machine of hate. Because I think some furries, they assume all popular furries are like that. So then they tar their view of popular furries. So when they meet a popular furry, they have that view of them right from the get-go, and anything they see that furry do, they look at it through that lens of prejudice, essentially. This guy is a popular furry, therefore I've already got my opinion on them, and anything they do is just going to reinforce that opinion. Even if it's something really cool and chill and awesome, they're going to, because they got the stereotype view in their head already, they're just going to be like, oh, he's only doing that for the clout. And I also think some of the hate is caused by peer pressure. Like, furries saying, oh, you can't like that dude because he's popular, he's just a popufur, you don't want to like him, or that's cringe liking him. And I've seen that happen in the furry fandom more than once as well. I don't think that's groovy at all. And I also do think there is an element of jealousy of popular furries that does kind of mar people's opinions. And I'm going to go back to what I said earlier about Xavier Fox. He is a suspiciously wealthy furry. As a joke, he turned up to a London fur meet once with a tank that he owns, that he bought, because obviously he's wealthy. And I think some furries are jealous of that. I think a lot of furries, they see successful furries out there with all this stuff that they want themselves, and because they don't have it, it kind of turns, dark and gnarly, and they get these opinions because they let their jealousy get the better of them. Now, I see wealthy furs and popular furries, and yeah, I wish I had what they had. I'm not going to deny it, but I don't let that mar my opinion of them. And I just think to myself, well, one day maybe I'll get there. The old pull up your bootstraps bollocks. I'm not going to let my jealousy of a more popular furry mar my opinion of them. And I'm not going to let me treat them any different because of that. Whether they've got 10 followers or 10,000 followers or 100,000 followers, I'm going to give them the exact same amount of respect and the exact same amount of my time, regardless. Now, I know some furries do have this opinion that, these popular furries, you can message them and they don't respond. They don't care about you. Or they don't have the, they don't give a shit about the little guy. Now, I'm going to reference my own experience here again. I am not that popular. I've got, 1,600 followers. I get every day maybe 10 to 15 messages from random furries. That's just me, a little guy in the fandom, and I get that kind of level. I can't respond to all them people myself. Now imagine if I had 100 times the following. So I'd be getting, 50 to 100 messages from furries every single day. Imagine how exhausting it would be to hold up that many conversations. So even notice that many conversations, because I've had instances where I've, been messaged by someone about an art commission, and then 10 other people have just shot that right to the bottom of my inbox, and I've not noticed it because it's been kicked to the second page or something. And it's that's just me, a little dude. So yeah, these big dudes, that you message them, there's a good chance that the app has just pushed you to the third or the fourth page, and they've not realized. And it can be extremely tiring responding to all them people as well. Think about it. A lot of, I'm gonna stereotype here, but a lot of furries have got really poor social skills, whether in person or online. And I've noticed it a few times. I get messages with the hi, how are yous, where they message you and they're like, hi, and you're like, hey, and they're like, how are you, and you're like, I'm good, and then it's nothing, and they expect you to hold a conversation because they don't have the next step. They've plucked up the courage to message you, and then that's it. That's their repertoire of conversation done. Now imagine if you were getting that 40 or 50 times a day. You're gonna be a bit reluctant, so to speak, to respond to some of these messages if the app even shows you to them in the first place. So I can understand why popular furries don't respond it's because they're either overwhelmed or too exhausted to do it, because let's face it, it's not something they can just turn off. They can't turn off their popularity. And that leads me on to the final point I want to talk about, and that is the mental health impact on these popular furries. Now, I cannot begin to imagine what it must be like to go online and see people saying hateful things about you on Twitter. You know, you go online, you see some random furry, you know, really ripping into you, taking some minor mistake that you made and blowing it way out of proportion. You think about what kind of impact that would have on you, yourself. Now multiply that by 100-fold, because that's what some of these furries have to deal with. You know, I'm gonna reference Beta Eta Delota here. He made a tweet a few years back about how furry YouTube was getting a bit boring. And this one tweet alone, which I can totally understand where he's coming from, this one tweet got him so much hate, so many people responding to it negatively, so many people ripping into him and just like really giving him a gnarly time. Can you imagine what kind of effect that kind of negativity would have on a person? You know, so many people calling you a piece of shit or whatever is gonna cause an effect even on the most resilient people. Now, I consider myself hella resilient. People can call me whatever the fuck they want and I'll probably just twat them. But even me, that would have an effect on me. If I had like 20-30 people calling me a shithead, I'd be feeling pretty bad about it. You know, so imagine having like 200 or 300 people calling you out. That's gonna fuck people up, man. That's gonna cause these people to become withdrawn and not want to interact with the general public. Worse, it's going to cause some really bad headspace for them. We're not acknowledging the effect that it's having on them. You know, they put on a front for us of this happy-go-lucky, you know, popular, yeah, doing all their thing, being really positive in the limelight. But behind closed doors, some of these furries are really hurting. I think we need to acknowledge this. There's been a few instances over the last couple of years of rather well-known furries, you know, killing themselves. And I think that's not groovy. I think we need to make more of an effort to, you know, encourage these furs to make sure they're all still cool. And I know from speaking to some of them in private, I have actually talked to a few on this subject now, like 3 or 4 rather well-known furries. They have said to me that, you know, the effect of what some of their, you know, fan base or followers say to them really does, you know, hurt them. It really does send them into a dark place sometimes. And I don't think that's really obvious to the furry fandom at large, because they only ever see the public side of these furries. They don't see the effect behind closed doors. I do think we should make more of an effort to make sure that we treat everyone the same, regardless of popularity. You know, and stop this, you know, really bad stereotype that anyone over a certain level of popularity is a clout-chasing dickhead, because it just ain't true. From personal experience, having met some of these people online and in person, you know, they are just the same as the rest of us. They are genuine people that are affected by how people treat them. The literal only difference is that they've got a bit of a following. And I really do think we should start treating them like the human beings that they are, and stop just, you know, prejudicing them with a stereotype of popufurs. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, drop a like, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. Consider joining my Patreon or possibly my Discord. There's some most excellent dudes over on both of those. And obviously the Patreon does help support me to make more excellent videos like this. Other than that, you have a most excellent day, an amazing week, and I will see you dudes in the next video, okay? Take care, ta-ra.